It's 2023 and the iPhone 11 will be turning 4 years old at the end of the year. The 2019 model of the iPhone sold incredibly well, but is it still worth the price tag, or are you better off getting one of the newer models? All of these answers coming up. Hey guys, Joe here from Techno and welcome to my review of the iPhone 11 in 2023. The iPhone 11 is a device that is very familiar to a lot of people. Jumping off the success of the 2018 iPhone XR, this phone was incredibly popular, to the point where the majority of the people I know actually own one. But as is normally the case with phones that are approaching the 3-year mark, performance can eventually start to suffer. This guide is going to take a look at how the iPhone 11 holds up in 2023 and whether it is actually worth buying. The main camera comes in at 12 megapixels, while the secondary camera is an ultra-wide lens. The inside of the phone features Apple's A13 Bionic chip from 2019, all in a package capable of using as high as 4G mobile data with IP67 water resistance. As a package, this is certainly not a bad design for a phone. With a variety of colours and a relatively recent processor, there is certainly a lot you can do with this device. On top of this, the iPhone 11 range was the final iPhone to feature rounded corners, as a year later Apple decided to return to the old days with the squared off design, which is still here on the iPhone 14s. After upgrading to the iPhone 14 Pro myself, I actually find myself preferring the feel of the iPhone 11 in my hand. While it is a lot easier to grip the squared off phones, they do feel a bit sharper in the hand, so holding a rounded iPhone again was quite refreshing. However, after going back to the iPhone 11, I did really miss the high refresh rate from the latest flagship, as well as the OLED screens that have been present since the iPhone 12 came out. The blacks on the screen have a blue tint caused by the backlight, compared to the iPhone 14 Pro, which has pitch blacks on the screen as a result of each pixel being turned off individually. This is likely not a deal breaker for most people, but if the kind of screen you have is something that will bother you, it may be worth looking at a more recent device. Moving on to performance now, this is where the iPhone 11 starts to fall off a little bit. For a phone that you will most likely have to purchase used, battery life and overall speed is going to be slower than some of the more recent devices. The iPhone 11 still has support for the latest version of iOS and likely will for a good few more years, but I have found that the device can be a bit slow at starting some apps, like cameras and some of the more intensive games. The phone's battery life is still good enough to the point where it isn't an inconvenience too. I found in my test that I could still unplug my phone in the morning and get most of the way through the day without needing a charger, though I would have to put it on low power mode when it hit around the 30% mark just to be safe. This may obviously change depending on what apps you use, how much screen on time you have, and what the maximum capacity is of your device. And finally, the cameras on the iPhone 11 are certainly good enough to stand up in 2023. Despite some images being quite grainy when zooming in, you would have absolutely zero problems taking photos of family moments or posting to social media with the iPhone 11s right now. The camera on this phone features portrait mode for both people and other objects, which is a great feature for people that like to take photos with blurred backgrounds. On top of this, the cameras are able to shoot in 4K at 60 frames per second, which is certainly good enough for today's standards. Though a newer and possibly pro version of the iPhone may be a better choice for those that like to take their camera work just a little bit more seriously. To conclude, the iPhone 11 was a fantastic phone at release and I still believe this is the case now, despite the fact that the newer models obviously have better screens, better cameras and a better battery life. Just be prepared to consider replacing the battery if it is hovering around the 80% maximum capacity mark, as this is where you may start to see some problems. The iPhone 11 is an especially good option if you're on a budget and the iPhone SE just isn't quite for you. However, I will recommend an iPhone 12 or up from Apple if you don't mind splashing a little bit more cash on a device that is brand new out of the box with the new battery. Let me know what you think of the iPhone 11 in the comments below and whether you think it is a good device to be using in 2023. Also be sure to like and subscribe to the channel as it really helps us out. This has been Joe from Techno and I'll see you in the next video.